I know we're recording, but I forgot to pin myself. So there we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny Robertson, founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and founder and publisher of On Purpose Woman magazine. I'm here to share the speaker portion of our Connections Over Coffee gathering of the On Purpose Woman Global Community. Amanda Schwarz is speaking on how to work a Zoom room like a wedding. Amanda is the owner of Mended Digital, a company driven to make online promotion and presence accessible for small business owners. No jargon, power plays, or condescension. Translating what you do and who you are into branding, websites, new and existing, social media presences, and more in a way that feels and looks great and empowers you at the same time is what Mended Digital is all about. And you can find Amanda's website in the text of this live. And Amanda, thank you for being with us. So whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I will be presenting a deck, so there'll be a little less pressure because I know that what happens in situations like these where I say, I've got tips on how to look in a Zoom room. The people who are attending this in the Zoom room I'm looking at them, right? And I just want to say on the topic of not feeling shame or embarrassment or anything like that. Anything that I may say in this presentation, please don't take anything to heart. Please don't take it as an insult. Don't take it in any kind of thing other than maybe to consider how you're presenting yourself on Zoom with the idea that when we are networking, and that's really key, we're talking about networking on Zoom, I think that there's an opportunity to get to know people through a screen. And there are things that we say verbally and non-verbally, just like we would in a networking space. So I'm just saying, consider that the setup behind you, the way you engage, the way you present, may say just as much as what you are saying with your speech. So that's where this all comes from. It comes from love. It comes from a place of, wanting to help one another. It's in no way meant to be condescending or any of that. I hate disclaimers because usually when there's a disclaimer, there's something, but work through it. Okay, I am going to get this presentation live. It's going to take me a second. Please bear with me. Okay, let's share this presentation. Okay, so first of all, we're going to start from working. You're going to work a Zoom room like a wedding, and what I mean by this is that, and these are the technical tips, right? Once upon a time, I was a wedding photography assistant. I worked for a great photographer in northern New Jersey. I was in one of those places where I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. I was looking through the want ads because there was nothing else other but then want ads, and there was this ad to become a assistant wedding photographer. And what the job entailed was not taking photos. It was making sure that everything around was set up the way it needed to be set up. So you see the strobe in my hand. It was angled at a 45-degree angle behind the bride and groom at all times so that the background was lit, so you'd have an even photo. I had to make sure that the veil was always in the right position, that the dress was always in the right position, that everything was kind of cascading the way it needed to be. I would set up flowers, the bouquet with the invitation to make sure everything was just perfect. And the biggest deal was that it had to be perfect because Photoshop was wildly expensive and took an inordinate amount of time. So the photographer really needed the photos to be as perfect as possible when we were taking them. So little room for error. What I found was that this eye for detail really started to impact me when I entered Zoom rooms during the pandemic. I'd be looking for details in the background of all of the screens to see what was going on, to try to feel what was happening. And it's just because I have a framing eye, it's just what it did to my head. But some good tips, I think, come out of it. So in this situation, you see there's a bit of a background issue with the girl. It's a lovely, delightful little picture of a girl, and all of a sudden there's an animal trying to eat her head. So the first tip that I have regarding your Zoom situation is to watch your back. If you can, I recommend opening your computer's camera and taking a look before you join a call. I do this pretty much every morning. I have two windows behind me that have wildly bright light coming through them. So I'll adjust the curtains to make sure that the lighting is okay. I'll make sure that maybe there isn't some laundry left over, or maybe the kids haven't left something weird in the bookshelf, just to keep things calm in your screen when you're looking in my screen. Again, removing the distractions or sometimes repositioning myself. This is often what I wake up to. And I'm like, I could do the call like this if I really wanted to, or maybe I just take a second, readjust. It's really that simple. And sometimes you can adjust the lighting forward or back, again, talking about those windows, so that this way you have, it's just a properly lit space. Tip number 2, keeping lighting and angles in mind. This is when things are too bright in the back and then your face isn't lit correctly. You start to look like you might be in witness protection. You don't want that as well, because people want to see those little nuances in your face when you're trying to express yourself in a room. So you want to make sure that there's a light source in the front to balance the back. What a lot of people recommend, and I think it's a great idea, is if your computer can be near a window so that you have front-facing light to evenly light your face. That's a really nice way to position yourself. May not always have what you've got going on in the background looking great, but I'll talk a little bit about that too. And also you may want to have some lighting. I have an extra light at my desk over here, and sometimes if I need it, I'll just pop it on. I have a ring light behind my, I have a ring light behind my desk. It kind of fills in other spaces. Right now, I don't think I need it as much. I think I'm pretty much balanced. I look kind of normal. But these are the options that I kind of have in my space to work with light in the front. I also like to keep my camera at an eye level or a little bit higher. A lot of times if someone comes on the call like this, it's there, it's doable, but do you want to look up my nose? I don't think you want to look up my nose. And it's a little more flattering when you lift it even a little higher than this, kind of reframe. And then I'll put some boxes or some books or something underneath to prop this so that it stays still, so that I'm feeling good about the angle that I'm at during the call. Because oftentimes, if you feel good about being on the call and feeling like your face is in a good place, you present more confidently. The rule of thirds. This is an interesting one. So photographers often think about a frame in thirds. So you've got your third here, and your third here, or sometimes your third here, here and here. So what you see in a lot of television production is the face kind of goes right around in here, and then you've got a space here and here. It gives people some grounding inside the Zoom window. So this isn't too bad if you're doing this. This isn't too bad if you're doing this. You still have this rule of thirds. And we do that in wedding photography a lot, so that everyone has a frame of reference of where the bride and groom are. So that's where I think the rule of thirds really helps in creating a nice space for your Zoom space. So here's something a little out of left field. The bonus that you didn't get in my article: you're going on a house tour with me. So this is something I don't normally do. I don't normally unplug my computer during a Zoom call. This is terrifying. But I'm going to bring you around my house, show you a few other options for where I might set up for Zoom calls. I'm bringing a box. And the reason why I bring a box is because, again, I like to steady my camera so, it's not jiggling around, not distracting anybody, not make anyone seasick. My house is a disaster right now. I'm not going to lie to you. Nobody should be seeing my house. It's terrible. But we're going to figure this out. This is my couch. I have set there we go. So see, what's nice about this is it creates a little bit of depth. I've got a mask. There, I just set that aside so you don't have to look at that in the screen. I might pitch it a little bit forward or backward. If I've got something weird on the steps, I may kind of lean my body like this. And you've got another angle of my living space that might be more interesting, or, maybe your desk is a disaster one day. You have to move someplace else. That's an option. I also like to take people to my kitchen every once in a while, either if I'm networking or if I'm working with a client. I'm really into tea. Sometimes I like to show off my teapots. So this gives me another option. I've got some nice side lighting over here coming in through a window. I've got some dishes and tea stuff. It may not be what everyone wants to look at, but at least it's something interesting. It's not overly distracting. I think this is also a really good setup in my house. I also have another idea. This may be a little out of left field, but I'm taking you to my bathroom because sometimes things are kind of crazy. You're not really sure what to do with your space. I have a very white bathroom. Don't put the fan on. But if I'm sitting here and I have no other place to go, I just close the door. My body is blocking the toilet, so you can't see. Maybe I'm in a closet. Maybe I'm in a bathroom. I don't know. But it's less distracting. I've got the picture behind me. There are options. So this is a tiny house. Not a tiny house. It's actually pretty. It's a nice house, I think. But it doesn't mean that you have to invest a lot of money or a lot of time into setting up your background. Sometimes it's just being creative about the space that you're in. A box, some books. See what I'm doing now? I'm going to re-angle this. I'm going to look for my better lighting. I'm going to scooch my chair over. And most importantly, I'm going to plug back in my computer so I can continue to talk to you. All right, so house tour. You got to see my house. Okay, this is the awkward part. Work a Zoom room like a wedding, etiquette. And this is coming from the idea of being a wedding photographer and there being etiquette involved with being a wedding photographer, not just a guest, but as being, that's the focus. It's not about sending thank you notes or anything as the bride. It's strictly being an attendant. Here comes my disclaimer. It is ludicrous to read the microwave directions on the boxes of food you buy, as each one will have a disclaimer. You see, this is going to vary with your microwave. Loosely translated, this means you're on your own, Bernice. Thank you, Irma Bombach. Every situation is different. I don't want to say that you want to do the same thing for every call based on clients, exhaustion, whatever. But if you're really focused on networking and connecting, these are my recommendations. This was tip number 3 from my article. I call it wedding talk because this is what I would talk to the photographer about. It's all about the couple. We focus on the couple because we want to make sure the bride and groom are comfortable, that they feel like they can give their best performance, that they can look their best and feel their best. What does that mean in a Zoom room? This is asking to keep your focus on the speaker and the subject at hand. I think that this is really good etiquette when you are in a networking space. You're going to try to remain as engaged as possible. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work, but I think the speaker can feel it. The room can feel it. Try to keep your camera on, unless there's an issue on your end that can be easily resolved quickly. Say my kid comes down the stairs, they need a snack. You don't need to see that. I'll turn my camera off briefly. Okay, go to the snack bin over there, take care of it. Okay, back on. But if you're going to spend a networking event off camera, just know that that may impact your ability to be present and connect with somebody. And if you can't stay focused, maybe network another time. I know this is a really hard one to say. I don't think that people win brownie points for showing up to meetings that they cannot be part of. If anything, it says more if you're not taking part and just kind of dialing it in, again, specifically if you're there to network. Tip number 4, is it time to eat? This was another interesting point that would come across with the photographer that I worked with. He put it in the contract that we were to eat during the cocktail hour we ate, and that we were all to be served a meal, as employees. So we had a set time. We knew that during cocktail hour, people are just enjoying themselves. We had just shot the bride and groom. We were just going to grab a little bit of a snack. That was understood. and that we would have something to eat later while the guests were eating, because there really wasn't much time to photograph, because no one wanted to see us eating while we were working. Eating can be literal, eating can be a metaphor. Eating equals working your 9 to 5. Are you dialing in when you're really supposed to be doing something else? Um, are you running errands while attempting to show up for the meeting? That kind of shows something as well. Are you performing chores around the house? Are you folding laundry? Are you, these again, things I may have seen. Are you literally eating lunch? Now, if you're in a lunch meeting and people know and you've had a conversation, great, it's been established, you're all set. I think that with On Purpose Women, we generally know we're bringing a cup of tea. That's kind of a thing. But if you're literally eating lunch, maybe it's not the best time. Is it time to eat? Probably not. Tip number 5, and we get back into this wedding talk. The one who comes underdressed. We're talking about the cousin who decides that it's a really great idea to wear a Hawaiian shirt to a formal wedding. These guests that kind of show up in apparel that doesn't really fit the room. And the reason why I bring this up is because I would actively be told, if that person is there, make sure they're not in the shot. And okay, because we didn't want that person to ruin the picture. So when I talk about the person who comes underdressed, what do I mean by that? Someone who's distracted by their own agenda. Someone who's on and off the camera or off altogether. Someone who's otherwise not present. That's the person who doesn't end up in the shot. You have an opportunity maybe to connect with a speaker who you really want to talk to, maybe another participant. It's going to be harder to do if you are not present. Bit of a recap of everything that I've gone through. First of all, check out the OPW Magazine July-August issue if you'd like to see the article that I put out. Watch your back to ensure your screen doesn't contain anything that draws attention away from the room, the full room, not just your space. Keep lighting and angles in mind. It'll help you look your best and most attentive. Give your focus to the speaker and the host. It's all about the couple, right? Is it time to eat? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but don't think your choice goes unnoticed. And be here now, be present at the event, not dressed or behaving as though you're supposed to be elsewhere. The one who comes underdressed doesn't end up in the shot. And what's a wedding without wedding favors? So just a couple of quick ideas and a couple of examples to kind of further illustrate my point. Ring lights. Ring lights are great. Ring lights are fairly inexpensive. I would recommend it. Yeah, you have the issue with possible reflections in glasses and whatnot. That's probably one thing that frustrates me a bit about ring lights, but it's not so foreign that people see it and they're like, oh, what's going on with your face? So I think ring lights are always a good idea. Again, I like to have a stack of books. This is on 2 boxes on my desk right now to help lift, to have that kind of flexibility that, you can use pillows or boxes or books around your home to kind of use as a makeshift tripod so you don't have to be buying anything, and just kind of set yourself up so you feel good. And this is a Zoom room from one of my favorite shows, Ted Lasso. If anyone knows me personally, I will talk about Ted Lasso all day long. This was a recent interview from 3 of the stars, which I thought was pretty interesting to kind of see some of these principles firsthand. First, you've got Brendan Hunt. He's a little bit of an oddball in the series. So even though the darker room and the blue and clearly he's in an attic may seem kind of weird, this is actually very on brand for him. So again, when I talk about those disclaimers, the fact that this guy is broadcasting from a blue room in his attic makes complete sense to me. There's the yellow submarine in the corner. It tells me a little bit about his interests. It's spot on. Then you've got Hannah Waddingham, who I just absolutely adore. She's a West End actress. She's got beautiful pictures of family behind her. Her parents were opera stars. You can see there's a picture behind. That's probably them. I'd probably say it'd be nice if it was a little higher up but there might be a reason why it's not. But she's done a really nice job of framing the space with the flowers and the pictures. It gives you some sense of who she is and what she's about. And it also matches her character on the show, which is very affluent, very well put together. And then there's Nick Mohammed. Nick Mohammed's space also reflects the character that he performs as in the show. He's a younger guy. He's still living with his parents, very minimal. The clothing he wears is the uniform that he has pretty much every day. He's got a plant in the back. That's great. You know, that at least there's something. But that first frame that I showed, you'll see he's kind of cropped in a smaller frame while the other two are wide shot, which was a smart idea by the producer of the IMDb segment, because yeah, he probably looks a little better cropped on the sides because there's nothing really to show. Is anyone else exhausted? I'm exhausted. This is my wedding. This is me. This is right before my husband is totally engaged. I'm like, enough. I hadn't slept the night before. So, you know, I know all of this sounds like very nitpicky, but thank you for being patient. And yeah, I'm ready to pass out too. My photographer saw that. Exhausting. But just know that the speaker appreciates when you're attentive. The people in the room appreciate when you're attentive. And when you put certain thought both in what you say and what's around you, it really does make a difference. So I am going to stop my share. And I just want to thank you all for joining me on this little exploration of Zoom rooms and how to set yourself up well. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. And I'd like everyone to unmute yourselves. I can hear you all clapping, even though you're muted. That's interesting. So let's
it's just me. I'm a
Thank
you.
Now let's just clap and say, yay, Amanda.
Yay,
Amanda.
That was adorable,
Really good.
Amanda. It was
Mhm.
really good.
Yes. And we're going to stop the live in just a moment and take some questions, but I want to thank anyone who's watching us live or the replay. If you'd like to join us for one of our 11 free Zoom gatherings a month, or an in-person in Charlottesville, Virginia, or our new meeting starting in Tallahassee, Florida in January, comment below and I'll tell you how to do that. Or you can just go to my website, opwgc.com, and find out all about our community. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.